I'm Danny, and today I'm going to be doing my most anticipated books for the year of 2020. Now, these will not be from like my most excited to my least excited or anything like that. These are just the top 20 that I am the most excited about, coming out in order, basically. So basically, I took my list and said if it's a 5 or a 4, I will talk about it in this video. Anything below that, nah, because that's a I'm looking forward to it, or a that sounds like it could be interesting book. These are like the books that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to read that as soon as it comes out kind of feeling. First, I have Dark and Deepest Red, and this one is set in 1588, where a strange sickness is sweeping through a small town that causes women to dance until they collapse dead. And of course, as in most small towns around this era, whispers of witches start going around town, which leads to a local family and a girl who's willing to do anything to protect those that she loves. Skip ahead 500 years, and a girl named Rose had a pair of red shoes sealed to her feet, which cause her to dance uncontrollably, which leads her to a boy who knows of this sleeping sickness more than anyone else does. And together they find out things that even the boy, who is a descendant of the original witch, did not know about. And this will be releasing January 14th, so that is not very far from today. Next, I have Wardens of Eternity. So this will be releasing January 21st. And our main character's name is Ziva, who was abandoned on the streets of New York at the age of 3, with only a memory of her parents telling her about a great and terrible destiny. 15 years later, Ziva finally experiences these powers out of nowhere and discovers that these powers not only that she can't control, but also attract gruesome monsters. Enter two people who know more about Ziva and her past. They inform Ziva that she is actually a descendant of Egyptian royalty. This power that her family has possessed since the time of the Egyptian gods. They promise to help her not only control these powers, learn how to use them, and perhaps even give her a family that she's always wanted. Next, I have Blood Countess by Lana Poplovic, I believe is how you pronounce her name. And this one I'm really excited about because this one is actually about Elizabeth Bathory, aka Princess Dracula, aka the Blood Countess. So it is the 1700s, and Anna starts to work in a rich countess's house as a maid. But soon the countess begins to favor Anna and eventually promotes her to the position of chambermaid, something that is not only highly coveted but comes with a very severe paycheck that Anna uses to help support her family. And as Anna begins to get to know the countess, she starts to be groomed not to only to be a maid, but a confidant and a friend. But soon Anna realizes that she is not a friend, but actually a prisoner, and what will happen when her new friend starts to turn against her. If you know the story of Elizabeth Bathory, you will know that she had a habit of hiring young women from the local village to come work in her house, and she would kill them and bathe in their blood in the hopes of staying young longer or stopping her aging process completely. So with that in mind, you can imagine how bloody and gory this book is going to be, and I am so excited for it. I have read stories kind of based around Elizabeth Bathory, but none actually a retelling of Elizabeth Bathory. So really looking forward to this one, and I can pretty much guarantee I will read this as soon as it comes out. And this will be released on January 28th. Next, I have Belle Revolt. This is by Lindsay Miller, and this will be releasing February 4th. I have read books by Lindsay Miller before, and I believe I've read 2 other books by her before, and each one of her books always has some sort of queer or ace representation, so I'm expecting the same thing for this book. So our character in this is Ellie, who is a high noble woman who wants to become a physician. But of course, society says that this is not a suitable goal for a high noble woman. And then we also have our character Anne, who is of low birth, who wants nothing more than to study magic, which is something she cannot do because she is of low birth. That is something more for the noble class. You could probably see where this is going already. So of course, what do our two characters do? They swap lives. So while Ellie takes over Anne's life and enters into a job as a physician's assistant, Anne enters a magic school to learn divination. Both their lives come to almost a complete screeching halt when their nation enters into a war based on nothing but lies. So like I said, Lindsay Miller always has some sort of ace or queer representation in her books. In Mask of Shadows, it was about a non-binary character entering an assassin competition, and in this one I'm not quite sure what the representation is, but I am looking forward to seeing what she has for us this time. Next, I have The Queen's Assassin by Marissa de la Cruz. This will be releasing February 4th. And this has to do with our main character, Calvin, who is one of the Queen's deadliest assassins and who is bound to the Queen's honor by an impossible oath of finding these ancient scrolls that disappeared like hundreds of years ago. Enter Shadow, who also wants to enter into the Queen's service, but in this world, magic is forbidden, and Shadow actually does have magic that she does have to hide. She hopes to not only hide her magic, but enter the Queen's Guild and hopefully can be as good as Calvin one day. But an attack forces both Calvin and Shadow to enter into an alliance while she still has to keep her magic hidden from the Queen's assassin. Next, I have The Shadow Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. This will be releasing February 25th. Our main character, Alessandra, has always wanted power, so she makes a plan. Step 1, woo the king. Step 2, get him to marry her. Step 3, kill the king and take all the kingdom for herself. The king that we're speaking of is known as the Shadow King. No one quite knows what the Shadow King's powers are. Some say that he hears the whispering thoughts of his enemies through the shadows. Others say that he can control the shadows. No one really knows what his powers are. But Alessandra is not the only one trying to kill the king, and she spends a good chunk of her time trying to keep him alive long enough so that she can marry and kill him, and at the same time trying to keep her heart out of the equation. But then again, who better for a Shadow King than a cunning and villainous queen? And this summary just gave me all sorts of Once Upon a Time feelings. Like, immediately after I read this, the only thing I could think of was Regina from Once Upon a Time, and that's probably who's going to be in my head the whole time I'm reading this. Exactly. She's probably going to have like a young Regina's face the entire time I'm reading this book. So I'm so excited for this one that I've actually already pre-ordered it. Next, I have Havenfall by Sarah Holland. This will be releasing March 3rd. So Maddie has spent almost every summer at this supernatural haven, I guess you could call it. It's a place where where supernatural and other magical creatures can spend their time, and hopes one day to inherit this inn from her uncle. But when her uncle suddenly gets injured, it is up to Maddie to not only track down the creature that injured him, but also try and take care of everyone at the inn and make sure they stay safe. And with the help of a girl named Tanya, but Tanya seems to know a lot more than she's letting on, and they both soon find out that no one, even each other, can be trusted. Next, I have The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. This will be releasing March 3rd. This is about Wolfgang Mozart's sister, who was also a musical prodigy, but of course, because she is a girl in this time period, she is not allowed to pursue music as greatly as her brother. So even though she is just as good, if not better than her brother, while her brother begins to ascend to popularity and fame, she slowly has to back out of the light. And soon someone shows up offering her everything she wanted. But of course, as we all know, everything comes at a price. I've actually heard that this was Marie Lu's first book, the first book she ever pitched, but it didn't sell. And so I think the first books that we ever heard from her were the Legend series, but this was technically her first book, and now it's being published. Just kind of shows you your first book may not be your first published book. Next, I have Witches of Ash and Ruin by E. Latimer. This also comes out March 3rd. March 3rd is a busy day. So our main character, Diana, is struggling with her newly found OCD after she is outed as bisexual in her very small Welsh town. And as we know, in small towns, nothing stays a secret for long, and within a day, everybody will know. But of course, what really matters to her is ascending and becoming a fully fledged witch. But things get complicated when a new coven moves to town, a coven that's known for practicing black and dark magic, and our main character soon finds that she actually has an attraction to the granddaughter of the coven leader. But things become even more complicated when local witches are found murdered, their bodies left at local sacred sites by a serial killer everyone thought long dead. Next, I have When We Were Magic by Sarah Galley. This also comes out March 3rd. Alexis knows there are two things she can count on in her life: her magic and her best friends. Her and her friends share a secret because after all, it is their magic that brought them together. When a spell gone wrong accidentally kills a local boy, the girls do everything within their power to try to bring him back, but it fails again and again, and the girls must find a way to try and deal with this. Next we have a book from my automatic auto-buy author, and this is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. And this also comes out March 3rd. Like I said, March 3rd is going to be a busy day. So our main character Bryce is half human, half fae, and she likes to spend her days working and partying all night. But during one of their nights out, Bryce's best friend is killed by a demon, and she will do anything to track it down. Enter our second main character, Hunt, who is a fallen angel who has been enslaved by the archangels that he and others of his kind tried to overthrow. But he gets an opportunity to possibly win his freedom if he teams up with Bryce to help her track down this demon. And I've been waiting so long for this book ever since I first heard rumor of it, and this one is gonna be a beast. This is 800 pages when an average Sarah J. Maas book is about 400, maybe 500, 600 pages tops. Unless you're one of her finales, and then you can go over the 600, 700 mark. This is a first book in a series and it's already 800 pages. Ooh, this is gonna take a minute. So this will be her first adult fantasy book. And while her books are usually new adult or young adult, they always seem to lean over into the adult territory. So now that she will not have as many restrictions because this is an adult novel, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. Next, I have The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davies. This will be releasing March 9th. Princess Lyanna is at the cusp of her courtship trials when she decides in the middle of the night to take a trip to the skies to clear her mind, when she suddenly sees a Raven Prince fighting a dragon. Raven Prince Rolf will do pretty much anything for his brother, including illegally entering into the courtship trials. But during an exchange between him and his brother, they are attacked out of nowhere by a dragon. While his brother flees and he is severely injured, he is suddenly saved by a dove princess who possesses forbidden magic. But unknown to them, a knight fights in a forgotten war who believes Princess Lyanna is a prophesized queen who is meant to save the world, and he will stop at nothing to have her. Is anyone else getting Feyre and Rhys feels from this cover? Because that's exactly what I think of every time I see it. Rhys and Feyre. Even though Feyre's wings weren't white, that's what I feel every time I look at this cover. Next I have Deadly Curious by Cindy Anstey. This will be releasing April 14th. Our main character Sophia wants nothing more than to be a part of the Bow Street Runners, an elite team of detectives and cops. But the Bow Street Runners have never had a woman in her midst. Never mind that the fact that her family has discouraged her from pursuing such unladylike goals, when Sophia receives a frantic letter from her cousin Daphne stating that her brother has been murdered. Heading straight to her cousin Daphne to assist with the help of a charming police detective, they begin to unravel the murder, soon figuring out that the murderer is actually much closer to her than she realized. And this book is definitely giving me stalking Jack the Ripper feels, because a girl who wants to enter into an unladylike profession, who meets a charming, well, Thomas wasn't a detective, but a charming guy, the murderer being closer than she realizes, her family not approving of her goals. Complete Jack the Ripper feels, though I am looking forward to seeing what the author does different with this story. Next I have The Gilded Ones by Naomi Forna. This is releasing May 26th, and this is about our main character Decca, who is going through her blood ceremony. Her blood ceremony that will decide whether or not she is allowed to join her village. She prays on the day of her blood ceremony that her blood runs red, but that day her blood runs gold, the color of impurity. And she knows that her face is worse than death. And then a woman appears offering her a choice. Stay and face her fate, or live and join the Emperor's army with a group of girls like her, called the Aleki, near immortals with rare gifts. So Dika leaves for a city where no one and nothing is what it appears, including Dika herself. And I'm getting major Children of Blood and Bone feels, kind of. I haven't actually read it yet, but that's the feel I get when I hear this. I'm very much looking forward to this one. Next I have Dark Tides by Alicia Jaskinsa. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I could be wrong. This will be releasing June 1st. Every year a young boy is taken to the palace of the White Witch Queen to be sacrificed upon the full moon. And this year our main character Lena's brother has been taken, and with the help of another boy who is the only boy in known knowledge to ever escape the White Witch's palace, he helps her break into the palace to try and rescue her brother. But upon finding her, the witch gives Lena a choice. stay in her brother's place and her brother can go free. So of course Lena decides to stay, but the White Witch Queen is nothing like what Lena expects, and soon they find themselves having feelings for each other and left with the choice: save each other or save the people relying on them. This one sounds very fairy tale, like kind of old fairy tale, not like grim fairy tale, but just like a fairy tale. That's kind of just what it feels like as I was reading that summary, and I am looking forward to this one very much. Next I have A Song Below Water by Brittany Morrow. This will be releasing June 2nd, and this is about our main character Tiva, who is a siren in hiding. Not because sirens aren't something known. Siren and magic is a very known thing in this world, but sirens are kept under constant lock and key. Never mind the fact that Tiva is one of a very small population of black people that live in Portland, let alone black people with magic. But when a siren murder trial rocks her world, when it is found out that her favorite fashion icon is a siren. And then things only get worse when Tiva accidentally lets her siren voice loose during a police stop. I mean, how much worse could things get? She's already keeping this secret and then she accidentally lets it out when she's under stress. How much worse could it get for her? Next I have Forest of Souls by Lori Lee, and this will release June 23rd. Our main character Sorsha comes from nothing, but she has been training for years to enter into the Queen's service to hopefully become one of her royal spies. But when her best friend is killed and Sorsha brings her back from the dead, it's unveiled that she is the only soul guide in living memory. As such, she is sent to the court of the Spider King, who has influence over the Deadwood, a forest who is infested by living souls. But the forest is growing unrestful and the Spider King can no longer control it. Only through mastering her skills can she hope to keep the forest tamed before it could potentially claim the friend that she would die for. Next I have Star Daughter by Shweta Vakar, and this will release August 11th. Now, our main character is used to keeping secrets, being the daughter of a star and a mortal, basically being a demigod. After her mother goes back to the heavens, her father is injured by a Miss Starfire. In order to get him healed, she must seek the help of a full star, so our character heads off to the heavens, where she must now be her family's champion to help decide the next ruling family of the heavens, or risk never returning to Earth and her ailing father. And this, I believe, is a kind of a mix of Stardust by Neil Gaiman and Hindu mythology, and I am really looking forward to this one. Talk about taking demigods to the next level. For the next book I want to talk about, this book actually does not have a cover. It has just like a barely, what I would consider a brief summary, and it is called Beyond the Ruby Veil. Unfortunately, I can't remember who it's by, but I will link all these books I've talked about in the description below. So a socialite accidentally kills the only person in their town that is responsible for creating water through the blood of its citizens, and she must now try and find where this magic comes from, or risk herself and everyone else dying of thirst. And this book has no release date at this point. And last but not least is the next book in Sarah J Maas's ACOTAR series. This does not have a date, a picture, or a summary as of yet. So this is truly just like, we have no idea when it's coming out. Usually the books in this series come around August, September, but considering it doesn't have a summary even yet, I'm betting it might not be until December possibly. So that is the 20 books I am looking forward to the most in 2020, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!